Super Smash Bros. Melee is one of my favorite games of all time, easily. I just adore the ever-loving shit out of this game. There was a moment in time where me and my friend, we would play this for 6 hours straight almost every day. You gotta have some Smash 64 in there as well to mix it up, you know? We'd come home from school, meet up, and just sit our asses down and play this for hours and hours on end. So this is why I love Super Smash Bros. Melee. The original Super Smash Bros. Came out in 1999 and it was a massive success. It moved 5 million copies and became the 5th highest selling Nintendo 64 game. It's right up there with Mario Parties 1 through 3, Mario Kart 64, and GoldenEye to prove that the 4 controller ports on the Nintendo 64 were genuine innovation, and when taken advantage of, some of the most fun in video games yet. The hectic and fun multiplayer is just incredible. The general consensus was that Smash 64 was really great for a first entry in a franchise. But Melee just greatly improved upon it. The generally positive reviews from the first game shot up to straight critical acclaim for Melee. Sakurai was the main man behind Melee again, and to say that him and his team worked hard was an understatement. The game was developed in only 13 months, and I still don't think many people realize how absolutely insane that is. This is one of the first games for the Gamecube as well, so it's not like the developers had ample time to get used to the console. Typically, games in the later in a console's lifespan look better and play better and are easier to develop for due to the developers getting used to the hardware. Anyway, Sakurai described his lifestyle as destructive during this moment in time. However, he adored Melee so much that even after its sequel, Super Smash Bros. Brawl released, Sakurai mentioned that he thought Melee was the best Smash game control and feel-wise. Usually when talking about games, I don't want to jump right into graphics first. I think graphics alone don't make a great game. Sure, it's nice seeing something like Uncharted 4, like it looks incredible, but I'd rather play something like Super Mario World because I just find that game to be more fun. The reason why I open with this is because it's astounding how much better Melee looks in Smash 64. The power of the Gamecube must have just been so much more than the 64. The characters don't really look polygonal anymore, and it's way easier to decipher what objects are now. Items and other things such as Pokemon and Yoshi's tongue aren't 2D anymore either. It just looks so much more modern and clean, and it looks pretty nice. Yeah, these are early 2000s models, which can look odd and a bit outdated at times, but this was a huge graphic jump over the original, and the graphical style has aged much better. The second thing I want to jump into is the roster, and oh my god, this game was rushed. Melee was only developed in 13 months, remember when I stated that before? And this character selection screen does kind of give up that vibe. The original 12 characters, of course, return. Bowser, Peach, and Dr. Mario all join Mario and Luigi as representatives of the Super Mario Bros. Franchise, meaning that series has 5 reps. Legend of Zelda also has 5, with Ganondorf, Young Link, Zelda, and Sheik joining the fight alongside Link. Zelda can turn to Sheik and vice versa via the down special. Pichu and Mewtwo are also here to boost Pokemon up to 4 reps. Falco joins from Star Fox to give Star Fox 2 reps. But then, we have 3 new universes. Mr. Game & Watch and Ice Climbers represent their own legacy franchises, meanwhile Marth and Roy represent Fire Emblem. I'll always point my finger at Melee for starting the reign on Smash that is Fire Emblem. On the surface, I think to myself, 25 characters, 26 if you include Sheik, this is amazing, that's more than double the 12 that were in Smash 64! But really, there are so many clones and odd choices. In fact, the game itself points this out by putting the 6 clones at the very side of the character selection screen. Dr. Mario, Pichu, Young Link, Falcon, Roy are clones of Mario, Pikachu, Link, Fox, and Marth respectively. The last one irks me a bit as Ganondorf is a clone of Captain Falcon? Why the hell is this the case? Ganondorf doesn't have enough unique traits to make him a good fighter? At least with how Melee plays, the clones are completely different from one another. They're not like Echoes in Smash Ultimate, where they play super similarly and have the exact same properties, and a quick look at Melee's tier list will prove that. Captain Falcon is much higher than Ganondorf, Marth is much higher than Roy, Pikachu is much higher than Pichu, Fox has a few spots on Falco, and even though Dr. Mario and Mario are pretty close and only a few spots apart, the actual scoring system has Dr. Mario solidly above. I got nothing for Link and Young Link though, those two play super similarly for me. I'm one of those weirdos. I really like to put the roster in the specs of how well a franchise is represented here. And in regards to that, Melee is kind of a mixed bag. I find it odd that no more Kirby characters were added, as Sakurai is the main man behind Kirby and Smash Bros., as well as Kirby franchise being one of Nintendo's most popular at the time. Roy wasn't even started a game before Melee, so his inclusion is just dumb right off the bat. Pichu is an odd Johto rep. They really couldn't have gone with something more unique for Johto. Dr. Mario is an odd 5th rep for the Mario franchise, though Peach and Bowser, perfect picks. One Metroid rep has also felt pretty odd too, with its important status when Melee came out. Not to mention, 7 of the new characters of the 14 that were added were from Mario or Zelda. That's a whopping half of the characters. Not a horrible job or anything, especially when you consider how much development time there was, but Brawl's roster did a good job of cutting off Melee's fat and adding new franchises like Pikmin, WarioWare, or Metal Gear Solid to the mix. But now we jump into the gameplay. Yes, the basics are very much like Smash 64, with tilt attacks, air attacks, smash attacks, all intact. However, characters now have a fourth special move, which is the side special. Some examples include Mario's Cape and Pikachu's Skull Bash. Some moves, such as Jigglypuff's Pound, Link's Boomerang, or Ness's PK Fire, has moved to their side special and they gained a new special, such as Link's Bow and Arrow. Every character now has 4 specials total. Like Smash 64, the up special is usually reserved for an additional jump of some sort. Unless you're Jigglypuff or Yoshi, then you just sing or throw an egg respectively. When grabbed, now characters have the ability to pummel their opponents by hitting the attack button. In addition to this, they also have now 4 throws instead of 2. A forward throw, a backward throw, a down throw, and an up throw. All characters have 5 aerial attacks, and their shield and roll dodging works just like it did in Smash 64. There is now air dodging, which I think is a very neat mechanic. I love how Melee implemented it too. The player can only do 1 before going to Freefall Mode. Freefall Mode is basically, well, it also happens after you do a triple jump. You can move it back and forth in the air, but that's really about it. You can't attack, you can't do another dodge, you can only fall. The player can also do a diagonal air dodge to get out of the way quicker, or just, to gain more air in general. I really like the balance of being able to dodge in the air, but it being pretty costly. It kind of sucked being boned in the air in Smash 64 because you didn't have an air job, you were screwed in the air. But at the same time, they were too good in Smash 4. They were stupid good. They were spammed at high level play. Air dodges can also lead to wave dashing, and Jesus, let's not go quite there yet. I'll talk about all the competitive shit later. A Sidestep Dodger was also added, which will cause the character to get a few invincibility frames in place. A well-timed Sidestep Dodge can avoid something like a grab attack, and it can be easier to counter. Honestly, my favorite 2 changes from Smash 64 to Melee are probably these 2 right here. The gameplay is sped up significantly from Smash 64, and every character's airspeed is the same as their ground speed. This just makes Melees feel so goddamn alive. I play Olimar in Ultimate, and it bothers me how goddamn slow he is in the air. Having both airspeed and ground speed be uniform in Melee just gets me into that combo mood. The faster speed also just makes these games really intense and fun. I liked Brawl for its single-player content, but it was really unfortunate that they just dialed back and went to the slower, more floaty gameplay route. Smash 4 also felt pretty floaty in comparison to Melee. Let's talk about the modes now, shall we? Up first is Classic Mode, which is virtually the one-player game in Smash 64. The difference here is the fact that while the fights are predetermined, there's a much bigger pool to choose from. This gives Classic Mode much more replayability than the 1P game. There are still fun distractions in between, such as trophy snag, break the targets, and a much better race to the finish. It ends with a fight with Master Hand, of course, but Crazy Hand will also tag along if the players met certain conditions. I tried doing this here with Captain Falcon, but Dolphin crashed. The player can always adjust the difficulty and the amount of lives they have as well. When completed, the player will earn a trophy of the character for their collection. It's fun to run through Classic every now and then and just grab trophies for everyone. That's about it for Classic Mode. Up next is Adventure Mode, which slaps hard at first. The basic idea was to run through most of the game's universes. The first level involves the player running through the Mushroom Kingdom, and it's pretty badass. Certain enemies like Goombas and Koopas will try to stop you. Unfortunately, this level of fun and creative thinking does not hold up for long. For example, when you get to the Pokemon portion of Adventure Mode, it involves a lightweight battle with Pokeballs. Other standouts are the F-Zero Marathon, escaping Planet Zebes, and running through the Zelda dungeon. There's also a fight between Metal Mario, which is a nice throwback to the first game. If the player has Luigi unlocked, this fight gets a lot harder as he joins along. The final fight is against Bowser, which can feel somewhat hollow. However, Giga Bowser will reveal himself if certain conditions have been met. Like in Classic Mode, the player will also earn a trophy for the character that they beat Adventure with. Adventure Mode starts out super strong, but unfortunately, it just kind of fades. The last new single-player mode is the All-Star mode. Take on the cast in Melee with only 1 life and 3 heart containers. The order is completely random, but I actually prefer how Brawl did it. Brawl sorted it by franchise debut date, which I thought was neat. Like, you could fight Mr. Game & Watch first, and then you fight Olimar last, because Pikmin was the newest franchise when Brawl came out. Here, though, it's just super random, and sometimes you'll just fight characters on stages that don't belong to their universe. This mode is hard as shit on very hard mode. Ugh. I like its inclusion a lot, and these 3 modes aren't even all the fun that a lone Smash player can get into. All-Star mode will also give the player a trophy of that character. This means that each character has 3 trophies to unlock, and yes, Zelda and Sheik are separate, so you have to run through and make sure that you're Zelda, and then make sure you're Sheik at the end. So you gotta do Adventure, Classic, and All-Star twice, and make sure you're them once each time at the end. There are also these event matches here, 51 in tow. These are a lot of fun, and the variety here is great. There's a legendary Pokemon one where only legendary Pokemon, Wobbuffet and Goldeen appear out of Pokeballs. There's Gargantuans, which has the player take on a giant Donkey Kong as giant Bowser. There's the Trophy Tussles, which are complete hell, but if one can beat the first 50 challenges, a secret 51st challenge will be unlocked. The player has to beat Giga Bowser, Ganondorf, and Mewtwo. It's actually pretty difficult if one runs in there blind. It really helps to have a good strategy, like to abuse Yoshi's down air, Captain Falcon's knee, or Jigglypuff's rest. I've wasted way more time playing these events matches than I care to admit, but man, my favorite one has got to be the Gargantuans one, because I made a fun game out of it. I tried to complete it while having Mario and Peach both survive. It's super difficult because DK just goes apeshit right away and just kills Peach. Wireframe battles can also be done from the main menu, which is neat, I guess. The 100-man melee needs to be completed to unlock Falco. I miss the fighting polygon team, though. It's, I thought they were much more fun and creative. I love how every character got one. Instead of here, it's just like generic Captain Falcon gets one, Zelda gets one, and that's really it. Break the Targets returns, and all 25 characters have their own unique stage, which means that this is probably the best that Break the Targets has ever been. Unfortunately, Board of the Platforms does not come back, and now feels like it's a part of the original's identity due to it not appearing in any other game. The Home Run contest also makes an appearance, which is another fun little minigame. It also involves the player grabbing the baseball bat and beating the ever-loving shit out of the sandbag and launching it. I enjoy the little modes like this, and I try to think of Smash Bros. Game as, well, just, more than Smash Brothers with 4 players. That's about all for the single-player modes, but come on now. This is so much more content than what was in Smash 64. I love Smash 64 with all my heart, I really do, but Melee just added a lot for the single-player fellow. Well, what if you don't give a shit about the poor single-player fellows? Because this is Smash Brothers. The 4-player action in Melee is, in my opinion, among the series' best. The amount of stages ballooned from 9 to 21. Every universe, except for Fire Emblem, has at least one stage that belongs to it. Melee introduced bangers, and I love the balance between crazy stages where shit is always going down, to the more calm stages that can be played competitively. My favorite stage has to be Pokefloats, as it's just so random and dumb. The fact that this didn't come back in Smash Bros. Ultimate just makes me sad. On the topic of Pokemon, Pokemon Stadium is a fun stage. Both Peach's Castle and Rainbow Ride are really fun too. I love the Bonsai Bill and how Rainbow Ride represents Mario 64 pretty well. The Mushroom Kingdom is also a lot of fun with items on. These question mark blocks will have items in there. Corneria is a damn classic too and has so much more going on than Sector Z does. Mushroom Kingdom 2 with Birdo was fun. The best part is you get to KO Birdo. Oh damn, remember how I said Pokefloats is my favorite stage? I may actually have to swap it off for Temple, because Temple is also incredible. I love hiding along the bottom and just getting really high percents and teching all the time. It also has great Zelda music. It's a bona fide classic. Some stages have a neat idea, such as Icicle Mountain, Brinstar Depths, and Flat Zone, but I don't actually really like playing on them too much. 3 stages returned from the original, and they are Yoshi's Island, Dreamland, and Congo Jungle. Very solid stages. I like all 3 of these, but I really miss the original Mushroom Kingdom and, of course, Saffron City. The new Yoshi's Island is also a great time, as well as Mute City. I like trying to destroy the cars as I drive by. Foresight's pretty fun as well. I should probably just stop here, because I can go on all day about Melee stages. Like, even just like the Battlefield and Final Destination are probably my favorites in the franchise. I just need to stop here. Another thing that we need to touch on are trophies. Meanwhile, I love the theme of the original, of like the plush stall being played with by Master Hand, and Master Hand moving the stuff around and making stages, which is why I like Peach's Castle is a bunch of weird geometry. In Melee, all characters are now trophies. This opens up the opportunity to collect trophies and have a description for them. The characters all have their own blurbs in the original. They were fun to read, but now in Melee, there are trophies for more than just the playable characters. There are ones for stages, Pokemon, side characters, objects, enemies, and the Gamecube itself. It all builds into almost a mini museum of Nintendo's history of sorts. I spent so many hours just looking at the models and reading the descriptions. Some of the newer franchises that didn't have reps, such as Animal Crossing and Pikmin, had trophies to try to include the franchise in some way. Some trophies are hidden behind a secret request. Like, for example, to unlock the Omar trophy, one must have a save file of Pikmin on their memory card. I thought Brawl handled this much better, as there was a challenge wall and you can grab like a gavel and break one, or you can just do the challenge to break it. But in Melee, it almost feels like challenges are completely arbitrary and there's really no way to check it, besides going, on a trip to Google, I guess. Items come back in full swing if that is your thing, and many are added, such as a flipper from Balloon Fight. This kind of thing just spins in place. There's a love stick that can be yielded. When hit with it, a flower will grow on top of the character's head and they will receive passive damage. Mr. Saturn from Earthbound is also here to destroy shields. Heart Containers and Maximum Tomatoes have balanced out to heal only 150% damage respectively. In the original, Heart Containers restored all damage and Maximum Tomatoes did 100. Giant mushrooms, mini mushrooms, and metal boxes are all fun transformation items. Most items from Smash 64 return. In fact, only the bumper doesn't make an appearance, oddly. I guess the flipper kind of replaced it. For a fun time, one can only turn on Pokeballs on the highest spawn rate. This makes Pokemon just flood the stage and it's hectic fun. Brawl, for whatever reason, completely ruined this by adding a lot of just boring Pokemon, as well as capping the maximum amount of Pokemon on the stage at once to 3. So the Pokemon battle is really only fun in Melee and the original. It's just such a dumb change in my opinion, but not many people are going to care other than me. There are additional 4-player modes in Melee as well, which range from pretty dang fun to single button mode. Mega Melee, Mini Melee, and Stamina are probably the 3 shoutouts from me. Although Lightning Melee can also be stupid fun at times, and at least Camera Melee has its place, but again, future entries just handled it better. In future entries, the player can take pictures in just standard matches. But for the life of me, I cannot give a remote shit about modes like Slow-Mo Melee and Single Button Melee. These are fun to dabble in every once in a while, but Brawl and other future entries simply ironed out this feature better by allowing multiple configurations at once. Besides, many who still actually play Melee nowadays don't play Melee as a party game. There's a very large portion of players who play Melee competitively. In my personal opinion, this is where Melee shines the most, more so than any other entry in the franchise. Competitive Melee is just simply so much faster and so much more engaging than all the other Smash games, again, in my opinion. The mechanics of Melee are just so cool, and there are just some, very fun exploits. Yeah, I see a lot of Smash Ultimate elitists that smell their own farts say that because they're exploits, it shouldn't count as fun, but I say that's stupid bullshit, and that you should play a game that you bought with your own money in any way that you want. Wave dashing, for example, is so neat, especially Luigi's. This is performed when the player does a directional air dodge into the ground. Their momentum will be carried and the character will slide. Luigi will go super far because of his weird characteristics, but other characters such as Dr. Mario will also go decently far. And there's also L canceling. This can be achieved by hitting the L button as the character lands while doing an aerial attack. When performed correctly, the character suffers only half of the ending lag frames. Then there's also jump canceling grabs, shield dropping, short hops, and specific weird character shit like Dr. Mario's triple jump cancel, and Fox's Shine. Oh god, Fox's Shine. There's just so much to Melee that there's plenty of video series out there that are hours long just explaining mechanics and how to approach. It's insane. This is basically the only video game that I can watch competitively. The game's pace is just so fast and those butter smooth combos are insane. I won't jerk Melee off too much because there are some noticeable flaws here. The first one would be the balancing. The balancing is so bad. If one plays this as a party game, fair enough, they will not notice it too much. However, since I was just talking about the competitive aspect of Melee, only 8 characters are actually viable at the higher levels of the game. If one looks at the most recent tier list, I really would argue that only the S and A characters do well consistently. Sure, players like Amsa, Axe, and Shroom will wreck shit with Yoshi, Pikachu, and Dr. Mario respectively, but that's more so of an oddity rather than the norm. Sometimes, the game can be too fast for its own good as well. I've actually seen some people online say that Melee is their least favorite Smash because it's so punishing and easy to self-destruct. Even when I get together with the boys, because I played a lot of Smash with my friends, some were into Melee, some were into Brawl, some were into Smash 4, some were into Ultimate. When I play with the ones that are used to Brawl and up, when we play Melee, they complain about the air dodging and how fast it goes. It can be super frustrating to accidentally air dodge off the edge, for example. Combine that with a faster falling speed and SDs, they just happen much more often than in other Smash games. The roster is also a bit whack, and I feel like it takes a punch out of being a Smash brother. Yes, all 12 characters in the original, they're icons at this point. But who the hell cares about Pichu, Roy, Young Link? Sometimes the very hard mode feels pretty cheap too. I get that it's supposed to be, very hard, but it just feels like they cranked the damage ratio up and just called it a day. Dying to Master Hand in a single hit on very hard is just so stupid. I guess the last thing I can harp on is the Unlockables. Future games just did this way better by laying out the objectives that the players had to complete. In Melee, get ready for a Google marathon because the game doesn't tell you how to unlock anything at all. I can't forget the music! The original had a great soundtrack and Melee is absolutely no exception. The menu track is burned right into my heart, man. Just like the original 2, the player can visit the music player to hear any music track or noise in the game. Endless hours were spent here. We can also change the language to Japanese. That's pretty cool, right? There's also this special movie that takes far too long, and the game also keeps track of all characters' KOs and falls, which is a great feature for a nerd like me. But goddamn, I'm running out of things to say, aren't I? There's a fun trick that I wanted to save until the end. The player has to be at the character selection screen to set this up. If one holds down the B button for a second or two in the character select screen, it will boot them out. If the player triggers this and hits start at the same time, they will become Master Hand. I'm not even kidding. I'm not sure how something like this even slips through game development, but it's just so much fun. I've spent more time toying around here than I care to admit. The player can make them do all sorts of moves, and it's funny little things like this to mess around with every once in a while. I've tried throwing items on like Mega Mushrooms and Metal Boxes, but it typically crashes the game. Man, I love Melee. The roster is a bit weird and clone-filled. The mechanics are beautifully fast and messy. The characters are horribly unbalanced, but has a decent wealth of content for a 2001 GameCube game. All these weird things make Melee, well, Melee. It was the last Smash Bros. Game before third-party characters started coming in. It was the last Smash Bros. Games with race to the finish and character-specific break-the-target missions. It almost feels like the last classic Smash Bros. Game in a way. There was also a huge gap in between Melee and Brawl of like 7 years. It didn't stray too far from the original, but the original really had a great idea and basic gameplay anyway. Combine the new modes, better graphics, refined gameplay with a lot of new stages for a game that is infinitely replayable. I adore Super Smash Bros. Melee with all my heart, and it earns a straight 7 out of 7 from me. So, let me know what you think of Melee in the comments. Are you one that thinks Melee is an overrated, jank piece of garbage? Are you one that thinks Melee is the best Smash game? Or are you somewhere in the middle? You think Melee's just alright, but you'd rather play a newer one? There are definitely Melee elitists that give the game a bad name, oh for sure, and they talk down on other Smash games. The original, Brawl, and Ultimate are all pretty cool to me. What about Smash 4 though? Nah, that's for another day.